Skittles maybe next up to join Budweiser and Target. The candy brand Skittles is facing a bit of a backlash after partnering with GLAAD, which is the Gay Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation, identitarian left organization, obviously. Black Trans Lives Matter on the packaging of Skittles. Black Trans Lives Matter. Mm-hmm. The fourth year, Skittles has teamed up with GLAAD to support the LGBTQ plus community by amplifying and celebrating their stories. A series of limited edition Pride packs, the candy company has ditched its staple color wheel and opted for a toned-down packet with an illustration. Yeah.
Yeah, you've seen it.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's a rainbow on there. And
I noted last week some pictures from the Budweiser tent at Sturgis, the big motorcycle gathering every year.
Up there in South Dakota. Yeah, it's empty.
Big Budweiser setup and nobody there. A lot of motorcyclists around, just not at the Budweiser tent. We'll see. We'll see how it goes for Skittles and some of these other brands that apparently do not view the backlash against these other companies and the real bottom line punishment they're taking as cautionary tales. For more on this and much more, we're pleased to be joined by Billy Busch, founder of the Busch Family Brewing and Distilling Company, heir to the Anheuser-Busch multi-billion-dollar fortune, and co-star of The Busch Family Brewed on MTV. He's got a new book, Family Reins, The Extraordinary Rise and Epic Fall of an American Dynasty. Billy Busch, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning. Thank you all for having me on.
So you got into a bit of a back and forth with the TMZ guys the other week. We actually talked about that interview. I thought it was interesting. Just to restate your view on the Dylan Mulvaney flap and sort of the culture inside Budweiser today, Anheuser-Busch Budweiser today. Because you've sort of had this argument from the brass there that it was just one can. There's sort of an excuse making, dancing around. There's not an acknowledgement of the attitude of Budweiser customers or former customers and why they were repelled by the profile that Dylan Mulvaney was given. What is your view on that?
Well, first of all, when I got on TMZ, I thought we were going to talk about our book, Family Reins, and of course it turned into talking about the advertising on Bud Light. And my view on it is exactly what I told those two guys on TMZ, and that is my family, my ancestors who ran the brewery all those years, would have rolled over in their grave with advertising like that because they understood who their audience was. They understood the core drinkers of their products. And, in the book, I talk about how they were always out grassroots selling to people. They understood who their customer was because they were out shaking hands all the time, going to the different bars and taverns and restaurants, as well as the liquor stores and grocery stores, wherever beer is sold. And they were meeting people. They worked very, very diligently. They loved this country. The incredible accomplishments and the incredible determination that it took to grow this brand and grow the company into an empire was just so interesting to me. So I had to write the book so we wouldn't forget that. I think it's great American history. But
what do you think personally of the Dylan Mulvaney campaign?
Oh, I think it was a terrible mistake. I think that instead of being inclusive, I think it separated the core drinker. I think people were turned off by it. I don't think that the core Bud Light drinker understands and relates to that kind of advertising. And they don't want a political, because let's face it, this has become a political thing, the whole transgender thing, the whole pronoun thing, the whole him, her, all that sort of thing. Gender identity has become a huge political deal today, and they put this on a can, and you never want to get into politics when you're advertising because you don't want to lose people. You don't want to separate people that way. My family wouldn't have done that, and that's why they would have rolled over in their grave.
Well, right, and there was something more than just the one can, as it's argued. It's also what the brand manager for Bud Light said, the Harvard-educated brand manager, where she talked about having to move away from the frat boy culture that surrounds Bud Light, and move in this direction that they were moving before it got halted by the market response. That whole attitude. I mean, sort of the corporate culture is called into question. It's more than just a mistake. This is a corporate culture that clearly doesn't understand their customer or doesn't care to. Even worse.
Well, again, that's being divisive. They're moving away from one group of people, and they're they're trying to have the Bud Light drinker relate to this other type of culture, and I just think that before, when my family was running the company, they stayed away from that. Bud Light was always about fun. It was always about quality. It was always about bringing people together. Therefore, the old motto that my family lived by, making friends is our business, was so truly important. And it seems as if InBev now has lost that way of thinking.
What would your ancestors say about sort of corporate America right now? Say the Fortune 500 companies right now, generally speaking, just in terms of how political that so many of those companies have gotten, at least at the leadership level.
Yeah, I think why turn your back on a big group of people? Why try to push a political agenda down people's throats when at least half the country doesn't believe in it? Why not be inclusive? Why not bring people together? Why not support this country, especially in a time when we're so polarized, politically polarized, I should say, and bring people together? And that's what my family always did. In the book Family Reins, I'm so close to it now because I just wrote that book, The Incredible American History, the support that my family, my great-grandfather, grandfather, father, and my uncle, who ran the company, gave to America during the toughest times, during Prohibition, during the Great Depression, during the World Wars, and how they supported the country and tried to bring people together. How they didn't worry about advertising their products. They worried more about supporting the country and making sure the country survives and thrives during some of the toughest times. And I'm sure if my family were running the company today, they would be doing the same thing, understanding that we're very polarized right now and trying to bring people back together in this country.
What how did the company survive Prohibition?
13 long years.
Yeah, it was 13 long years. My grandfather, August Busch Sr., had to come up with other ideas, other things to sell. They came up with near beer, which is non-alcoholic beer. They sold syrup during that time. They made soda. They sold that. They really got big time into the yeast business. They were always known for their high quality with everything they did. And so their yeast was known for being very high quality. And so they sold yeast to bread companies. That kept them going. But during that whole time, they never had to lay off one employee. So they my grandfather kept 2,000 employees employed during that 13 years, which is just amazing to me. And I talk about that in the book.
And it sounds like you had a fascinating childhood, because I'm so jealous. You had a pet elephant?
Yep, I had a pet elephant. I sure did. What a great kind of friend she was to me. She was, an amazing, emotional, very, very sweet elephant that I can't say enough about how great she was. I really can't, and the great relationship we did have.
Did you get a Clydesdale as well, or did you have any of those? No.
I was lucky enough to grow up on kind of a farm, an amusement park. We were open to the public. My father opened our home to the public back in 1954, realizing it would bring brand loyalty to the company. It was a great way to advertise. So he opened up the farm, and then he realized that as he opened breweries across the country, that putting theme parks around these breweries would be a great idea for advertising and building the loyalty. And so he built Busch Gardens around the breweries, and that's how it all got started. But I was lucky enough to grow up with chimps and bears and elephants and all these different things I talk about in the book. I think people will be amazed. I really didn't realize how unique it all was until later on in life. I thought everybody had a pet elephant. Everybody rode on a private railroad car and did things like I did. But then later on I realized, you know what? This was really unique, and I need to write it down and keeps this memory going, because it only comes around, once in a lifetime, I think.
It seems like part of the purpose of the book, or at least the consequence of the book, even if it wasn't specifically the purpose, is to keep alive this idea of Horatio Alger stories in America are still possible, and part of it is telling them. So, the idea that you can go from rags to riches, that the American dream is a real thing, because that's really under assault in certain quarters, that it's not possible, it's it's a mythology and so forth. But your family as an example that it is possible because it happened.
Well, you're 100% right, and that was another reason that I'm really glad. I think the timing of the book is really good, because, you can live the American dream here if you have the faith in the country, if you believe in yourself, if you work hard. There's a great possibility that you can be extremely successful, and, that's why people are flooding into America right now, of course, with our open borders and everything. It's because they know that this is a land of opportunity. They know that this country is based on freedom, and we all, we appreciate that so much, and sometimes I think we forget how important that is, especially this day and age. While we try to tear all these things down about this country that really made this country great, this woke culture, cancel culture, all this kind of crazy stuff that's going on right now, to hurt this great country is just, it's not perfect. It hasn't been perfect. I think we're evolving. We're getting better all the time, but we're still the greatest country that's ever been on this earth, and people should celebrate that.
Now, do you think Bud Light, Budweiser, are they going to survive this?
I think it's going to be really tough. It's amazing, it's gone on this long, and I was telling somebody the other day. I said, in the light beer category, the beers aren't that much different, and we always knew at Anheuser-Busch that if people left Bud Light and went and drank another light beer, it would be hard to get them back. So we lived on our traditions. We lived on the quality stance, on the great advertising that AB was always known for, and that kept people drinking the brand. But the fact now that people have moved on and are drinking other beers, they're trying other light beers, the fact that these beers aren't that much different in taste, it's really going to be hard to bring them back.
He is Billy Busch, founder of the Busch Family Brewing and Distilling Company, heir to the Anheuser-Busch multi-billion-dollar fortune, and co-star of The Busch Family Brewed on MTV. The new book, as we were discussing, Family Reins it's called, The Extraordinary Rise and Epic Fall of an American Dynasty. Billy Busch, thanks so much for joining us. Good luck with the book and show.
Thank you very much, you guys, for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
If you are 65 or older, you know this. Watching your hard-earned dollars